They say voices never fade, they echo forever, and Zubeen Garg's voice was one of them. He was the man who made Assam sing, the artist who gave Bollywood new soul, and the human who dared to speak when others stayed silent. But one morning, the music stopped, and with it, millions of hearts broke. Zubeen Garg, the legend who shined so bright, only to leave the world wrapped in silence. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, where we celebrate the lives, the legends and the legacies that shaped music industry. Today's story is not just about fame or success, it's about passion, rebellion and the fearless heart of Zubeen, the man who became the voice of an entire generation. Without wasting time, let's start the video. But before that, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel. Zubeen Garg wasn't just a singer, he was an emotion, an energy that could make an entire crowd cry, dance and dream, all in the same song. He was the kind of artist who didn't just perform music, he became it. His courage was louder than his fame. While most people use their spotlight to shine, Zubeen used it to speak about justice, identity, love and the pain of his people. Every lyric he sang carried the fragrance of Assam, its rivers, its rains, and its roots. And yet, his music reached far beyond borders because the emotion in his voice didn't need translation. He was a storm in the studio, wild, unpredictable, yet full of purpose. A poet on stage, turning his pain into poetry, his rage into rhythm, and a warrior in real life, never afraid to stand for what he believed in, even when it cost his peace. Behind that smile, there was a fire. Not of arrogance, but of truth. A fire that burns only in those who live for art, not attention. Zubeen didn't care about trends or awards. He cared about honesty in sound, about leaving something real behind. He wasn't here to follow the world. He was here to remind it that music isn't business, it's life. Born on November 18, 1972, in Tura, Assam, Zubeen came into a world already soaked in rhythm. For him, music wasn't just something he heard, it was something he inherited. His father was a respected singer and composer, a man who believed that melodies could heal souls. His mother was a celebrated dancer and actress, graceful, expressive, and artistic to her core. And so, in the Garg household, music didn't play in the background, it lived in every corner. And did you know? He was named Zubeen after the legendary music conductor Zubeen Mehta. It's as if destiny had already chosen his path, written not in words but in musical notes. As a child, Zubeen was everything but quiet. He was curious, restless, and always looking for something new to create. While other kids played with toys, Zubeen played with sounds. He would tap rhythms on the table, whistle random tunes, and turn every object into an instrument. He wasn't just learning alphabets, he was learning rags and tals. His teachers often said he was distracted in class, but little did they know, his mind was composing music even then. In his teenage years, he started performing in local cultural events and school competitions. And soon people noticed that this boy didn't just sing songs, he felt them. There was depth in his young voice, emotion far beyond his age. That was the first glimpse of the Zubeen the world would one day worship. In 2002, Zubeen married Garima, a fashion designer and someone who deeply understood his artistic chaos. Together they were more like companions in creativity than just husband and wife. Despite fame and struggles, Zubeen always described his family as his safe zone, his reasons to return home. Zubeen's drive with music began young. In the early 1990s, he released his first Assamese album, Anamika, and overnight he became a household name in Assam. His voice was raw, real, and full of emotions. Soon, he wasn't just an Assamese sensation, he became a national icon. His big Bollywood break came with Ya Ali from Gangster, a song that became a national anthem of heartbreak. That voice, that pain, nobody could match it. From there was no looking back. He sang in Hindi, Bengali, Tamil, Telugu, Nepali, and of course Assamese, over 34,000 songs, each one carrying a piece of his soul. Zubeen Garg wasn't just a playback singer, he was a creative universe all by himself. A composer who could make silence sing, a lyricist who could turn heartbreak into poetry, a music director who understood the pulse of both the stage and the street. He wasn't bound by genres, he broke them. From Assamese folk tunes to Bollywood pop hits, from classical rags to hard rock anthems, Zubeen could switch emotions like colors on a canvas. He created film soundtracks, directed movies, wrote scripts, and even acted not for fame but because he wanted to tell stories in every possible way. He was a one man industry, proof that art doesn't need language, it just needs passion. And that's what made him unstoppable. He didn't chase trends, he created them. In every song, there was honesty. You could feel him, not just hear him. Maybe that's why fans didn't just like Zubeen, they lived him. His songs weren't background music, they were live soundtracks for millions. While others sang for fame, Zubeen sang for freedom. He refused to be boxed into one style, one industry, or one label. He showed India and the world that regional artists can be global icons. That being rooted doesn't mean being small. Every performance, every melody, every lyric was a reminder that true artists don't follow paths, they create them. But despite the fame, the awards, and the roaring crowds, Zubeen slowly began to distance himself from Bollywood. Because behind the lights and the luxury, he saw something that didn't sit right with him. He spoke openly, without fear, about how the industry often ignored artists from the Northeast, how stereotypes and politics decide who got the spotlight, not raw talent. He saw creativity being replaced by corporate contracts and art turning into algorithms. And for someone who lives and breathes freedom, that was suffocating. He didn't want to be a puppet in a glittering machine. He wanted to sing from his heart, not from a script written in boardrooms. And that honesty, that refusal to bow down, came at a price. Zubeen was never built for compromise. He believed music should mean something, not just tell something. So instead of chasing fame, he chose truth. Instead of applause, he chose authenticity. And yes, that boldness often landed him in controversy because Zubeen never sugarcoated his opinions. But he didn't care because, as he once said, if you don't speak your truth, you don't deserve your mic. That line wasn't just a quote, it was his philosophy. He walked away from the glamour, but he never walked away from music. He left the industry, not the art. For the people of Assam, Zubeen wasn't just an artist. He was their voice, their pride, their identity. He didn't just represent Assam, he belonged to it. Every note he sang carried the fragrance of its soil, the rhythm of its rivers, and the heartbeat of its people. He stood fearlessly for Assamese culture, language, and heritage at a time when regional art was often overshadowed. He made sure the world heard Assam not as a forgotten corner but as a land of melody and meaning. When floods hit, he was there. When students needed help, he was there. He donated to hospitals, funded education, supported struggling artists, and spoke out when others stayed silent. In an era where most celebrities chose silence to protect their image, Zubeen used his stage as his sword. He wasn't afraid to speak truth to power. He worked in protest, sang in rallies, raised his voice for justice. Not for headlines, but for humanity. He stood shoulder to shoulder with his people through political unrest, natural disaster, and cultural struggles. Assam didn't just love him for his songs, they loved him for his spine. Very few artists in this world have the courage to use their fame for the people, not against them. Zubeen was one of those rare souls, unfiltered, unstoppable, and unforgettable. He didn't just make music, he made movements. He didn't just earn fans, he earned faith. And that's why, in every Assamese heart, Zubeen isn't just a name, he's a feeling. A reminder that one man, one voice can represent an entire land. They called him Zubinda, not as a star but as family, because when he sang, Assam listened, and when he spoke, Assam stood. But Zubin's journey wasn't all applause and lights. Behind every stage performance, there were sleepless nights. Behind every smile, silent battles. The man who gave joy to millions often carried storms inside him that few could see. He faced health issues, personal losses, and controversies that tried to break his spirit. There were days when the pressure of expectations from fans, from media, from the industry became unbearable. Fame, after all, is a heavy crown, and Zubin wore it with both pride and pain. Sometimes he fell, sometimes his words were twisted, his actions misunderstood. But every single time he rose stronger, louder, truer. Because for him, falling wasn't failure, it was just another verse in his song. He battled exhaustion, stress, and the endless noise of a world that often demanded too much. But through it all, he never stopped creating, never stopped believing. That was his way of saying, I am still here, I am still singing. No matter how dark the night got, he always found a melody to light his way back. And then came the day that silenced an entire state. Zubeen Garg passed away, leaving behind questions, tears, and a void that words can't fill. Rumors spread, media speculated, but what truly mattered was lost. A legend had fallen. Maybe heaven needed music. Maybe Assam gave the world too much love to keep. But one thing is sure, Zubeen didn't die. His voice is still with us. To the media, to the world, it's time we stop turning pain into headlines. Every tragedy doesn't need a theory. Every silence doesn't need a story. Zubeen gave us music that healed us. The least we can give him now is respect. Let the man rest. Let the voice live. Because legends like Zubeen don't deserve gossip. They deserve gratitude. He gave his life to art, his voice to the people, and his soul to music. Now it's our turn to honor that, not by mourning, but by remembering. Let's celebrate his melodies, not the mystery. Let's echo his words, not the rumors. Because as long as his songs are sung, Zubeen will never truly be gone. Thank you for watching this tribute to Zubeen Garg, the soul of Assam and the sound of a generation. If his music ever touched your heart, drop a heart in the comments. And remember, the music may fade, but legends never do.